So if you're, let's kind of jump into technology. I think it's an interesting point here. Is like if you were looking at a portfolio of solutions or technologies that may exist. You mentioned that we should be implementing these technologies quicker. I just want to pick out a few things that you said. Right, you mentioned desalination a few times. Obviously, if you're close to a coastline, makes sense to desal. You mentioned that there are problems with the brine. I think it'd be interesting to kind of talk about what the issues with desalination are. But you said a really interesting point of if you're in the middle of Africa, piping that water, moving that water to the middle of Africa maybe doesn't make sense. We've had a few atmospheric water generation companies. Like, is there other technologies that you can get treated fresh water in the middle of somewhere that's farther away from the coast? And then you mentioned reuse, right? So it seems like you've kind of like I'm just pulling out a few things here. What would a portfolio of technologies look like? Is that it? What does it look like?
Now we are unfolding a really, really interesting box here because it's we are now also beginning to go into the water industry where you can see the vast technologies that are within the water industry. So if we just take we can start out with desalination. So new membrane technologies. It can also be new energy sources, which also are part of it. It can be artificial intelligence that are learning from sensors in the treatment process. It can be optimized pumps or new generate or next generation pumps. I have a background in the pump industry from Grundfos looking into new innovation. So there's a lot of things going on there. So when you look at the whole value chain I'm very practical. So you have water in the sea to water to the tap there's a whole value chain here. And in the process of treating the water from the sea, there are so many ways to optimize that. And then, of course, you have the piping. So new piping materials, new ways of doing piping, leak detection. You're then opening up that box to make sure that when you have used energy and you have treated the water, then you're not losing that much water when you come into the infrastructure. That's also a part of it. And then in the treatment process, where you are able to operate your treatment plants in a way where you are super efficient in then reusing the water and then pull that back into the infrastructure. And that's something that is also new to a very interesting company, Epic CleanTech in US, that are doing some interesting stuff. They even have a beer that are approved on reused water. I love Aaron and the team and the guys there, but the water reuse is also an upcoming industry where there's a mindset-wise development that has to go on for the consumers, for the businesses, basically for everyone. So I think that's the desalination. And then when you have alternative water sources, when I started out back in the days in Grundfos, in Grundfos Futurelab, I asked my team to find out what are the most interesting technologies that are not depleting our groundwater and we are not using seawater. That was, I remember that. I remember this whiteboard where I wrote this sentence, and then the team was digging into that. And I found that quite interesting. And that's where atmospheric water came to my table and to my knowledge 6 years ago. And then without going too much into the details about what has been going on in the industry and so forth, I like the idea of converting humidity into water or treated water for drinking, for industrial use, for whatever type of usage you have. I don't think that atmospheric water in any sense will be massive infrastructural producing massive amounts of water for large cities, for infrastructure, for utilities and so forth when we're talking about large populations. So I don't think New York will be 100% based on atmospheric water in near future. I don't think that will happen. So, but there are application areas where atmospheric water generation is interesting. It comes out of a long, long legacy about condensation. Now we see liquid desiccants. We see hybrid solutions. We see a lot of money has been going into R&D, which means that we're not only talking about the classical condensation, which has some physical constraints about how much water you can take out, what are the humidity level, what are the temperature, what are the energy consumption. There are simply restrictions from a physical point of view. But if you add hybrid systems, you're beginning to look into something, or I would call them the next generation atmospheric water technologies. And they are quite interesting when you talk about, for example, countries in the African continent, like in the middle of nowhere. Or it could also be not even in the middle of nowhere in Africa. It could be US, it could be Australia, it could be the Middle East, it could be Southeast Asia. But you are beginning to see an industry that I would say have got a lot of beating in the water industry from many aspects that it will never fly, it will never happen, it cannot scale, and so forth. I would say that if you look at certain application areas and the development I've followed firsthand, I have been supporting one of the AVG companies in preparing for a listing on the New York Stock Exchange and know the industry from inside. And I think um, that is a technology. I think the next 10 years we will see a lot of groundbreaking stuff going on in there. And right now the cost is simply too high. But when the cost is beginning to be lowered, I think we will begin to tap into areas where people really, really struggle with access to clean water. And I think that's one of the technologies I think in the future, with the right hands, the right mindset, the right funding, the right team, knowledge, and so forth, and less talk about impact, but on real problems and commercial traction, I think would be quite interesting to follow. I'm following them every day, actually.
You had mentioned earlier, and I think I'll summarize here a little bit, that we're not implementing technologies as quick as we can, which is kind of why we end up in this water is stressed conversation, treated
Yeah,
water is stressed conversation, if we relabel that.
yeah, yeah.
Why are we why is it slow? Like,